welcome to yet another beautiful edition on the Alas. I'm so happy, so glad to be here today, as usual, to keep you up to speed with so many happenings happening in the Catholic Church, the Archdiocese of Benin City, to be precise. I am your host, and I am not alone. My name is Ume Obianuju Nicole.
And I am Osamliame Godswill Olu. You can get a copy of the Veritas newspaper from any of the Catholic Archdiocese of Benin parishes, and it goes for 500 naira a copy. Now, Veritas newspaper is a newspaper put together by the Catholic Archdiocese of Benin to bring all the happenings in the Catholic Church, and in particular those happenings in Nigeria and specifically the Archdiocese of Benin, to all Catholic faithfuls. And today we'll be starting off from the front page of the Veritas newspaper, where the big headline says Pope Francis health. Church calls for prayer, reflection. More details on that can be found on page 3 of the Veritas newspaper this month.
And that is absolutely correct. I mean, we are called to pray for our dear Pope Francis. It's not been easy. Everyone knows he's sick, so we should pray for him consistently and also pray that he gets better as soon as possible. We are reviewing the front page of the Veritas newspaper, and aside from the major headline, we have other sub-headlines here. One of them says, Campan Scene unites in Archdiocesan celebration of Patron Saint Feast Day. Campan Scene unites in Archdiocesan celebration of Patron Saint Feast Day. You can get complete details on page 5 of the Veritas newspaper.
Meanwhile, on page 47, you can find details about the top 10 Nigerian universities that are in Times Higher Education 2025 ranking. What do you think about this, Nicole?
Well, to be honest, I haven't taken the time to actually look at every single, I've not taken the time to look at the entire list, but I believe that there are some schools that I already know would have made the list, top of my head.
Well, do you happen to be an alumni of one of those schools?
Definitely not, but I don't want to talk about that right now. But moving on, still on the front page of the Veritas newspaper, we have a sub-headline here that says, dozens of minor seminarians join St. Anthony's Guild as Archdiocesan body celebrate annual Thanksgiving reception. Dozens of minor seminarians join St. Anthony's Guild as Archdiocesan body celebrate annual Thanksgiving reception. You can also find that on page 5 of the Veritas newspaper.
Yes. On page 9, we have a story that talks about the Pope. The Pope warns against modern Towers of Babel and calls for gospel communication. He warns about modern Towers of Babel and calls for gospel communication. And I think this goes to point why the Veritas newspaper is very important in this day and age.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing for you to communicate, it's another for people to understand. I'm pretty sure if you remember the story of Tower of Babel, where they were speaking different languages, they could not understand themselves anymore. So, I mean, the Pope is warning against modern Towers of Babel. So when you hear Tower of Babel, don't think you need to construct
a tower. No, you don't.
Tower, no, not at all. You might be communicating, but people might not understand what you are saying. You might be preaching the gospel, but people might not understand the gospel that you preach. So please, the Pope warning against modern Towers of Babel is something we should actually take very, 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 very personally. So still here on the front page of the Veritas newspaper, we have this news story here that begins from the front page and continues on page 3, and it is COSUDO launches campaign against human trafficking. The Committee for the Support of Dignity of Women, COSUDO, has launched an awareness campaign to combat human trafficking, marking St. Bakita Day with sensitization programs in marketplaces. It is no longer news that human trafficking gradually became a norm in our society today. You see people are being trafficked to different countries, all because they want to make ends meet.
Which is very sad.
Too sad. And you see, at the end of the day, these people get abused, molested. Sometimes they even fall into the wrong hands. Not just the girls, I mean the boys as well. So the COSUDO launching a campaign against this menace, human trafficking, is something I really, really commend, to be honest. Well, you can begin the story from the front page of the Veritas newspaper and continue on page 3 of the Veritas newspaper.
Yes.
Moving on.
And in other news, still on the front page of the Veritas newspaper, we have this one that continues on page 51. Pope to Indian bishops, be beacons of hope to the poor. The Pope to Indian bishops, he says, be beacons of hope to the poor. More details on that on page 51 of the Veritas newspaper for the month of March.
Yeah, 2025 is the Jubilee of Hope. So the Pope is, trying to tell us that we just need to still give the poor, the vulnerable hope. If you're not eating, if you don't have a place to sleep, if you don't have food on your table, they might just be hopeless. They might think that there's nothing to live for.
But the Pope says, please be beacons of hope for the poor, no matter how hard it must get.
Yes, try to reach out to them. I'm sure you know some persons who might be finding it really, really difficult, especially in this tight economy and outside the shores of Nigeria as well. So if you know these people, if you've seen these people, if you've seen people who are in need, do all to help the little way you can. And moving on, still on the front page of the Veritas newspaper, Stampede. Did you hear about the Stampede in Abuja?
I heard about the Stampede and it was very heartbreaking.
Very, very sad.
And I think the most heartbreaking part about it was the fact that it was due to poverty, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because these people were gathered to look for, should I say, let's just say palliative. A little bit of a palliative.
Kinda, because, the story here says, Stampede, not church negligence, Archbishop Kegama. This, you can find the full details on page 7. But to be honest, it's something they do annually.
Yes.
St. Vincent de Paul, they come out, they give to the poor, to the needy, food stuff, food items, clothing, and whatnot. But due to the current economic situation in our
that's
country,
why that's why I said
this
what I
happened
said.
last year.
Yeah, last Christmas,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken. It was the Yuletide season. I don't remember the exact date, but it was the Yuletide season, and it was very, very disastrous. It was one of the saddest tragedies I've experienced in recent times.
Yeah, you can find complete details on page 7 of the Veritas newspaper. Moving on.
Moving on, we have one at the top right corner, a story that says Christ faithful bid final farewell to Emeritus Prof. A.A.E. Orue at 77. A sad one right there. Emeritus Professor A.A.E. Orue passed on, and the faithful did bid final farewell to him.
May he still continue to rest in peace.
Yes, as well as the souls of all the faithful departed. Through the mercy of God, rest in peace.
We are moving down to the editorial section,
yes.
page 11. Page 10. Yes, moving down to the editorial comments. The headline, or rather the topic of discourse says, Edo election petitions tribunal judgment must be peaceful. Edo election petitions tribunal judgment must be peaceful. So I find it quite strange that it was actually moved from Edo State to Abuja. To be honest, I understand the incessant, unnecessary show of power, unnecessary violence. At a point when the court is sitting, no one is allowed to pass that area. So much security at the beginning and at the end.
Well, I think the security had to be made after incessant harassment of the court premises by certain individuals.
And I wonder why. What's the need? Why can't the court just sit peacefully and then allow the judge to do his thing?
Well, the reason why the court won't sit peacefully is because so many people have so much riding on this judgment and they are not ready to take no for an answer. And there's already been cry of wolf in the sense that a lot of people are already saying that this judgment is not going to be fair. So they would rather just, sabotage the judgment before it even comes to bear.
It is no longer news that the Edo State Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal recently announced its relocation from Benin City to the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The secretary of the tribunal, Muazu Ibrahim, informed parties in the tribunal about the relocation to the National Judicial Institute, NJI Airport Road, Abuja, effective for Monday, January 27, 2025, in a notice dated January 24th, 2025. However, no reason was given for the relocations of the tribunal. but it may not be unconnected with the disturbances that have occurred at the court premises in Benin City in the past. We await the final judgment. Still, moving to the back page.
Before we go, a quick look at a little bit of comic relief. There's a comic right there, and we see the EFCC office and one of the EFCC leaders holding a list of missing items, and the other EFCC officer says, "Sir, should we call the EFCC to investigate the EFCC for corruption?" And the question remains, who watches the Watchmen?
Moving to the back page of the Veritas newspaper, where we have a segment for all the sport fans, sport lovers. That's called Sports Extra. And one of the headlines here says 2025 AFCON, Nigeria in Group C to face Tunisia, Uganda, Tanzania. You're going to see the full story on the back page of the Veritas newspaper. What's your take?
All right, so on the other side of Sports Extra, we have Brown Ideye slamming the poor standards in Nigerian Premier League football. Yes, Nigerian Premier Football League, Brown Ideye slams them for their poor standards. The striker highlights a larger problem within the NPFL as Nigerian clubs continue to struggle on the continental stage due to poor planning, inadequate player welfare, and logistical challenges, which is no news in terms of the NPFL, but I would not like to talk on that so much today. Let's quickly remind you that right here you can place your adverts and place your products right here on the Veritas newspaper, and you can also hire the Catholic Social Communication for live streaming, photo book, video coverage, weddings, birthdays, burial ceremonies, and lots more.
And that's how we'll call it a wrap today on VR. It has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. Do not forget, you can advertise your brand with us. You can place your events on the Veritas newspaper, be it birthdays, be it weddings, funerals. We can come and cover that event for you at quite an affordable rate, if you ask me.
And the entire team at VALAT would like to congratulate the Catholic Archbishop of the Benin Archdiocese, Archbishop Akubeze, on his 19th Episcopal celebration. Thank you very much, sir, and God bless you.
Yes, and please, you can join us next time on this platform. Do not forget that we bring you up to speed with various happenings in the Catholic Church, especially the Archdiocese of Benin City, through VALAT. It's simply a platform where we review the front page and other stories of the Veritas newspaper, which happens to be the National Best Editorial Award-winning Catholic newspaper for the year 2017 and 2018. Till we'll come your way again. My name is Umeni Obianu Juniko.
And I remain Osam Yame, God's will.